What is up, you guys? My name is Aubrey and this is my channel, and today I want to talk to you about the Paycheck Protection Program because according to the SBA, applications are going to be opening up within the next week or so. And unlike the EIDL, where all you have to do is fill out an online application and wait for your approval or your denial, with the PPP, you have to submit a various amount of documentation in order to prove what your payroll costs are, what your business costs are, and the fact that you really have a business or that you're really a 1099 or contract worker. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly what you should have prepared. That way, once the applications open back up, you'll be ready to go. So let's get started. So the first thing to remember when it comes to PPP funds is the fact that there are different requirements if you are somebody who is going for a first round of PPP funding, meaning you've never actually received funds through this program before, versus if you're somebody who is trying to receive a second round of funding. So let's say, for example, you are somebody who received PPP funds back in the spring or summer of 2020. Well, then you'll have to meet different sets of guidelines if you are wanting to get funds in this next round of PPP funding versus if you're somebody who has never received PPP funding before and this is your very first time applying. So with that, the first set of recommendations, if you are somebody who has never received PPP funds before, are as follows. Number one is you have to have less than 500 employees. Your business has to be operational and open, and your business has to be formed as of February 15th, 2020. If you are a second time PPP applicant, meaning you received funds through the PPP program in the first round, then you have to have used up all of your first round PPP funds. You have to have a business that has been operational as of February 15th, 2020. Your business has to be open and operational. You have to have less than 300 employees, and you have to show a 25% or more reduction in gross revenue. And this can be done one of two ways. Number one, you could compare your gross revenue for the entire year of 2019 versus the entire year of 2020. And if you can show that you had a 25% decline, then you would be eligible. Alternatively, you can also choose any quarter in 2020 versus the exact same quarter of 2019. And if there is a 25% decline in that quarter, then you could be eligible as well. A handful of disqualifiers, and if any of these apply to your business, you may not qualify for a PPP, is if your business was not operational as of February 15, 2020, if your only employees include like household employees, things like nannies, housekeepers, babysitters, lawn care workers, that is not considered a business, and thus you would not qualify for PPP. If you have had within the last 7 years an SBA loan that you or a business partner have gone delinquent on, this would also disqualify you. And basically a good rule of thumb is if you would not qualify for the SBA 7A loan program, you probably wouldn't qualify for the PPP either. Another reminder is the fact that you do not have to have employees in order to qualify for the PPP. You can be an independent contractor, you can be just a self-employed individual in a one-man team, and you don't need to have a number of employees in order to be eligible for the PPP. So that is an important differentiator that is important to know, because I feel like so often people kind of correlate the PPP with a program that only benefits people with a number of employees, and this is simply not true. If you're an independent contractor, if you're a gig worker, if you do freelancing, all of these things could qualify you for the PPP. Okay, so let's first dig into if you are a first draw candidate, meaning you did not receive funds in the first round of the Paycheck Protection Program. If you are somebody who has employees, if you are somebody who has a small business and you have employees that work for you that are on payroll, these are the documents that you should have ready in order to be ready to apply once the application process opens. First is a quarterly 941 form. Alternatively, you could also have a yearly 940 form or a yearly 944 form. That's 944. Alternatively, you could have an 1120S form. This would also be suitable for applying with the PPP. Or you could also just use payroll documentation with a corresponding letter from a payroll processor. Something like QuickBooks could be sufficient in this case. You do not necessarily have to provide all of these different examples if you are somebody who is applying for the first round and you have employees, but I would encourage you to have all of these available to you, or at least a variety of different documentations to choose from. That way, if the institution that you're applying through is requesting more documentation, more information from you, you just have it ready to go and you don't have to go back and like correspond with your accountant or go back and like shuffle through to find these forms. I would encourage you to have all of these available and ready to go. That way, once you're able to apply, you have all the documentation you need. And the more documentation, the better, because if your your bank that you're applying through, if the institution you're applying through needs to go back and request more information from you, that's going to slow down the process quite significantly. Alternatively, if you are an independent contractor, a gig worker, a 1099 worker, and you do not have any employees, meaning it's just you, for example, I would fall under this category since it is just me, I don't have any employees, you could do your 2019 1040 Schedule C. That is a document that's found within your personal tax return. You could also use your 2020 Schedule C form as well, whichever option you choose. It doesn't have to be the filed version, but it does have to be complete and it does have to be accurate. So you want to make sure to have that documentation if you are an independent contractor, a gig worker, a 1099 worker who's wanting to apply for the PPP. Keep in mind that if you're somebody who is applying as an independent contractor, you are going to have to be able to show a net profit for 2019 or for 2020, whichever year you're using your Schedule C from. You cannot show a negative profit and then expect to receive PPP funds. That could disqualify you as well. So you want to provide your Schedule C that's completed and accurate from either 2019 or 2020, and it has to show a net profit. And again, this is in regards to if you are somebody who is applying for your very first round of PPP funds, meaning you've never received Paycheck Protection Program funds before. Okay, so now that we've covered people who are applying for the very first time, now let's go over people who are applying for the second time. And again, if you're somebody who has received PPP funds before, you've used up all of the funds, and you are still having an operational and open business, then this category is what would correspond with you. So if you are somebody who is applying for the second time with the PPP, here are the documents that you should have ready to go for when you apply. Similarly to the first time applicants, you will need to be able to show a quarterly 941 form, yearly 940 or 944 forms, and 1120-S form, and payroll documentation with a corresponding letter from a payroll processor. So it's virtually the same as the first round applicants. And similarly as before, if you're somebody who is applying and you have no employees, meaning you're a gig worker, an independent contractor, then you will need to provide a completed and accurate 2019 or 2020 Schedule C form that shows a net profit. Now here is where these two application processes differ. If you're somebody who is applying for the second round, you will need to show a 25% reduction in gross earnings, and you can do that with a few different methods. Number one is you could just submit tax returns from 2019 versus 2020. If you can show that those tax returns are different, then that is a great option as well. Now again, the tax return doesn't have to be filed because it's still earlier in the year. There's a lot of people that have not filed their taxes yet, but it does have to be completed and it does have to be accurate. Additionally, you could prove this by submitting quarterly financial statements as well as bank statements. All of these would be sufficient ways to prove that your business showed a 25% gross revenue decline in 2020 versus 2019. Now again, I encourage you guys to have all of these documents ready for whenever you go apply for the PPP. That way there are no issues and there is no need to go back and request more information from you. The more information you can provide upfront will mean a better and more streamlined process of applying for the PPP for you. I encourage that anybody who can apply and who can qualify for the PPP, I encourage you to do it because there isn't a whole lot that you can lose. The forgiveness process is super easy, super streamlined now, so chances of you getting this loan forgiven are very likely if you spend the funds correctly. Now again, remember that the application is opening this week. I will be doing videos on how to apply for the PPP, so stay tuned for that. Make sure that if you don't already have a bank that you're working with that can help you with the PPP application process, I would encourage you to go find that now before the application opens up. If you guys don't know what bank to go with, I highly encourage Bluevine. I think Bluevine is super easy to use. I'm not affiliated with Bluevine. I just use them as a customer, and I think that they are super easy, super streamlined, and they really help you walk through the PPP process really clearly. So if you haven't checked that out, I definitely recommend to give it a try, but really there are a bunch of different options you can go down. Another option is Cabbage as well. But with it being said, you guys, I would love to hear your thoughts. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you have anything to add, make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. And I'll see you guys in the next video.